we are in a very difficult position because we're uncertain as to the direction of travel. I think it's obvious that in that Trump-Putin call, Donald Trump did not get what he had told us he would be getting. I mean, the US position went backwards if you think about it. There they were a week before, with Ukraine having signed up to a full 30-day ceasefire across all domains. Now the position's moved back simply to energy infrastructure, which, let's not forget, is a position that helps Russia because it's the Russians who are actually suffering more from energy infrastructure attacks right now than the Ukrainians. So very strange to have gone backwards. If you're the US, you're the great deal maker in that regard. I mean, obviously there was a very good conversation between President Zelensky and President Trump as well. But it's unclear where all this ends. And I think with European leaders meeting today, in Brussels, the big question remains, what is Europe going to contribute ultimately to any peace? And crucially, attached to that is, will the US be the security backstop for that European component? And will Putin accept it? All these questions are still up in the air, Mike. We're a long way away, I think, from definitively knowing if there's going to be peace in Ukraine this year, despite some mood music suggesting we could be inching towards it.
Oh, quite. And also not very helpful, is it, that the French have decided that with the money they're going to spend on arms, they're not going to buy any arms from British manufacturers on the grounds that we're not in the EU, unless we give them some kind of sweetener on fishing rights, which seems entirely not quite the spirit of the thing at all, does it?
Well, it's not simply not in the spirit of the thing, it's stupid. Because at the end of the day, Europe has woken up in the last few weeks to the reality that Europeans are going to have to work together if they're serious about the continental defence within Europe, and that's going to involve not having these kind of sweetheart deals that the French and others are obsessed with. You're either serious about security, you're not. What the French are telling us with this move is that they're not serious about security, because everyone knows that if you want to have effective continental defence in Europe, you need the British on board. We are, a major military power, and we are essential for that coalition. So the French need to get a rain check on their positioning here, because it suggests they're not actually that serious. And if that's the image President Macron wants to portray, I'm sure the only person who's laughing about it is Vladimir Putin.
Well, exactly right. And when we are in these difficult sort of choppy waters, if you want, diplomatically, and when really serious issues are at stake, I don't really think it's a great idea for Keir Starmer to go swanning about pretending that he's, Captain Sensible of a submarine. He's off to HMS Vanguard today, one of the UK's nuclear-armed submarines, which I'm sure, from his PR point of view, is meant to show some kind of military strength.
Well, I mean, look, I think, the government's trying to make the most of its recent announcements on defence and trying to show there's a renewed commitment to the nuclear strike force as well. I don't begrudge him that. But I think, the reality is that it's quite obvious that where the government is with its recent announcement of 2.5% is actually already being overtaken by events. So I don't mind, photo ops and submarines, but I'd like a few more submarines. I'd like a few more, naval ships. I'd like a bigger army. I'd like a better air force, because I think Britain needs it to defend itself in the current climate.